I think the success of Bodyguard was the strength of what Larry wrote between Frank and Rachel. And of course we had a song that just really tied it all together in a way, but you can't just get a great song. And Bodyguard was very much about language.
I think Rachel Marin is lonely in the crowd of all the people who swirl around her, all her press people and advisors and makeup people. In the middle of that is someone who's alone and recognizes a kind of strength and individuality in Frank, and I think that's part of the bond that establishes between the two of them in the movie.
She was a woman. She was nothing more than a woman, a talented, egotistical woman that was impossible to take your eyes off of.
This was about two people who fall in love. And also there's the collision of two worlds. There's the watcher and the watched. Frank Farmer is the invisible man watching his client, and actually not watching his client, but watching the crowds, not watching his client.
Rachel and Frank are two different people who think differently about life. Somehow their paths get crossed, and he's introduced to her world and she's introduced to his. Well, they're not very happy about either one.
Kevin, I thought, played beautifully. Let you see that uncertainty, that desperation sometimes when the face is a mask of saying, I'm in control, I'm watchful, I'm guarding this person, but when things start to get a little crazy, you can see some of that in the eyes. And I think when he starts to fall in love with Rachel, you see that, I think, beautifully understated. And I love working with the two. I thought the chemistry between the two of them was great.
Right from the beginning, on my first handwritten draft, there's a lot of talk about the songs, including the titles, some of which became song titles, like I Have Nothing. It was in the original handwritten script in 1975.
The music in the movie, the songs in the movie, and the score in the movie have obviously a storytelling function, so the choice of subject matter for each song and the titles is not accidental.
I don't really need to look very much further. I don't want to have to go.
It's so great to have a movie to write a song to, because when you're just sitting here, if I was to write a song today, I'm sitting at the piano with a blank page. I have nothing to write about. I've got to like conjure up everything. But when somebody says to you, this is a love story between a man and a woman, and he's a bodyguard and she's a singer, and whatever the scenario is, it just, that becomes your co-writer. So the movie becomes your co-writer.
She was always a singer and a performer, and I thought that whoever we got should be able to do that. I was concerned that an actress could not do that and be convincing. When we wound up with an actual pop star, I was very relieved. And the fact that she then collaborated with David Foster.
Whitney's like a racehorse. She steps up, she walks into the studio, she steps up to the mic, she takes her coat off, and she goes.
If I should stay, I would only be in your way.
The song that we were going to go with was a song called What Becomes of a Broken Heart.
And I'm opening up Billboard magazine, which is the music Bible, and I'm looking at the charts, and this kid, Paul Young, enters the charts at 60 with a bullet with What Becomes of the Brokenhearted from some movie. So I called Kevin Costner right away, and I said, Kevin, and I'm really thankful about this, but I didn't say that. I said, Kevin, we can't do this song. Paul Young is about to have a hit with it. I mean, it's going to be crazy. And he goes, oh, geez.
I'll think of you every step of.
Jim Wilson came to me with a couple of songs, including I Will Always Love You. And I had known that song and loved it.
I hadn't listened, honestly, to a lot of Dolly Parton. Put the song on, and the minute you at least I heard not only the lyrics, I'll Always Love You was what this moment was about, but thought, boy, Whitney's rendering of this, as great as Dolly's was, I said, I know what Whitney can do now. I'd heard her sing a bit and said, she can knock this out of the park.
The thing that I love about Kevin is that he loves music. He loves to sing. He likes melodies, you know. You don't have to be a great singer to love music or to even hum it. You know, Kevin's a good hummer. He sings all the time, you know. But I helped him with the singing, and he helps me with the acting.
And then a little bit of the battle started.
When Kevin said to me, you know, I'd like her to start the first part a cappella, I was like, come on, are you kidding me? I said, you know, and he said, no, I think it'd be great. I said, are you kidding me? You can't start a record that way and it won't get on the radio. It's not going to work. I said, I'll tell you what, for the movie version, we'll do that. But when I make the record version, I'm going to put music around it. He said, okay, well, whatever you want to do for the record. But in my movie, she's going to start a cappella.
I wanted that for her character. And Whitney had a big trust in me.
And will always love you. Will always love you.
She stands up there, and I'm standing beside her mother, and she goes, if I... And it was like the Maxell ad. It was like the hair just like went, you know, it's the first time she had really sung it for real. We talked about it, but she'd never really done it for real.
But the record company wasn't that happy. They weren't happy because they didn't think that song would play on radio because of the slowness at the first. They go, this will never play on the radio. And I remember saying, I don't care. You know, so I really took that one on my shoulders, that song.
Whitney was used to a lot of success, so it wasn't that shocking to her. But the soundtrack, as huge as it was in the United States, it was twice as big overseas. So the overall gross for the movie was astounding.
The Bodyguard was selling 1 million albums a week. Ching, ching.
And the first time I heard it on the radio, I heard it all day. It just didn't stop playing. And it didn't stop playing for a long time.
And I will always love you. I will always love you.
When I was in England, there was an article in the Guardian newspaper about somebody who was sent to prison for playing I Will Always Love You over and over again, 24 hours a day, so loudly that the floorboards shook in the apartment next door, and the person next door sued them and brought in a music psychologist who said, yes, that repeated 4-chord structure of I Will Always Love You does count as psychological torture. I don't think of it that way. I can't hear that without hearing the movie, seeing the movie.
I had always felt that there were certain problems with the story, and one of the reasons I hadn't directed it was I wasn't sure exactly how to solve those problems.
I would have kept the Academy Awards. Would have. But instead of having the act occur there, I would have had everything that Larry had going on except the action.
The Oscars, I had to plan that like a military operation. This is great, like thousands of extras, you can hear the money. I can't remember now how many cameras we had, but we were working in 3 different systems. There were the film cameras that were everywhere. Some of them were prop cameras pretending to be the cameras that were covering the Oscars, but some of them were film cameras, disguised as television cameras.
I had suggested something about 4 weeks before we started shooting, but I think it just discombobulated everybody, to be honest. I mean, and I can understand that from Mick's standpoint, which was, well, why now? You know, I've got this thing in my head how I'm going to shoot it. But where I would have gone, to be honest, is have her separate from Frank. And at that point, she doesn't want Frank with her. At that point, they're hurrying to get into the limousines, and she's pissed, she's frustrated, and you can see her manager saying, we should wait for Frank, and she's thinking, why in the hell should we wait for Frank? Get in the car. Everybody, get in the car. I'm not waiting for Frank. He's ruined my night. And so what you do is you put her in the car, the door shuts, she takes off, and as the window opens, it's our bad guy driving the car. And what he's done is he's killed that young black kid. The sinister quality, I think, would have ramped up and would have been a very bullet-like chase. a really inventive car chase that culminated with Frank just doing something very direct, but taking the actual confrontation and moving it away from the Academy Awards.
Well, I thought the movie really picked up during that moment where the band conductor said, "He's got a gun."
He's got a gun! He's got a gun!
The movie was kind of dull up until that point, and then it just kicked into high gear at that point. And then also my wife is in the movie getting blood splattered all over the white suit. The movie was incredible.
In the movie, I walk up there and somebody's trying to kill me. Well, that's weird, you know. I think probably from now on, I'll probably walk up there and go, look around like, who's out there?
They don't get together at the end. It's almost like Casablanca. And that was very much in my mind in the scene at the airport at the end when she rushes off the plane into his arms. It's like Casablanca. It's like, we'll always have Paris. Except she doesn't say that. She could say, we'll always have the Oscars.
It just left open the possibility that they would meet again someday, while in the original draft, it was clear they would never come back together.
And when you're dealing with Kasdan, and I know Costner very well, it's not about, and it wasn't then, can we gross more ever? I mean, to both these guys, it clearly was story. What's the right story to tell? What is it that we want to say?
Part of the lump in my throat was realizing what was going on behind the camera. To get that shot of Whitney running out of the plane, running over to Kevin, embracing him, kissing, and then the camera swirling around. In the days when you didn't use Steadicams very much, we had a dolly rail built and a railroad switch built into it, you know, like when a train's changing tracks. First time we did it, the momentum and the centrifugal force was so great for the camera operator as we swiveled around Whitney and Kevin. He fell off, but the camera kept running, and he ran and caught up with it and jumped back on again and kept operating until the end of the shot. And that's the shots in the movie. You never know.
It was a wonderful ending, and it was theatrical, but it wasn't over the top. And the precise thing for me was ending in the Kiwanis Club or whatever that thing was, and people are eating, chicken. And that was what Frank's life was going to be going forward.
Because even though they learn to love and respect each other and they become friends, their worlds just don't mix, because at that point, it wouldn't be a bodyguard and client situation. We would have to be lovers, because it's gotten that hot and that intense, So Frank can't deal with it, neither can Rachel, More so Frank. Frank doesn't want to deal with it. Rachel, she don't care. She's like, I don't really care. Come on.
It's satisfying to see that this simple love story had a worldwide sort of acceptance.
I went and had lunch with Quincy Jones at his house. He was another mentor of mine during the making of the music of the Bodyguard. I've been to Quincy Jones's house twice in my life. But right out of nowhere, he invited me over for lunch, just the two of us, right? And we're sitting there having lunch, and he's just so smart, this guy. He just intuitively knows things, And he's putting a salad up to his mouth. He stops. He goes, this is going to be the most important music project you've done in your life and probably might ever do. It's like, really? Pass the ketchup.
I think the main thing that touches me about the movie is that when I'm talking to a stewardess on an airplane and she says, what do you do and what movies? And I say The Bodyguard, I get an extra big drink. And that's great.
And for a minute there, I didn't think I'd make it. I thought, God, this is just so grueling. And the scheduling, I'm not a morning person. I hate getting up in the morning, Don't talk to me till after 12. I'm that kind of person. And that was discipline, getting up and being there and the whole thing, Just that I made it is the most rewarding experience from this movie, I think.
I'm really proud of that movie. I was proud to introduce Whitney into movies that way and show her that I was not only her friend, but that I was her colleague. I mean, I will always love her.